Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Rebel News live stream on this, a Thursday, July 17th, 2025. I'm David Menzies, my co-host. Well, let me tell you a bit about my co-host. Folks, do you know that today is National Tattoo Day? And I got to tell you, my co-host has many tattoos. I just don't know how to break it to her that once upon a time, getting a tattoo meant you were a badass. Now it means you visited the mall on the weekend. She is the she-devil with a sword. She is the Khaleesi of Northern Alberta. She is the sensational Sheila Gunn Reid. How are you, my tattooed friend?
None of them are mall tattoos. None of them. Not to say there's anything wrong with mall tattoos, but mine are all original art. I generally keep them all covered up. Sometimes you guys send me emails about how horrible they are. Not you, David, but our viewers. I generally don't show you anything past my elbows, and yet still, I get the emails, and look, I realize they're not for everybody. And that's okay, because they're for me.
Sheila, tell me where you weigh in on the tattoo rule, which is tattoos on one's neck and on one's face. I know of tattoo artists, it doesn't matter what the money is, they will not do that. They don't want to be responsible for the person having buyer's remorse. Because I think if your face is tattooed and you're trying to get a job,
there's no way back.
Yeah, unless you're working at a tattoo parlor, I think you've really limited your career opportunities.
I think so too. And I say this as somebody who is like very tattooed. Nothing I have can't be covered with clothes. I have a couple on my fingers, but I can easily cover those with rings too. So I just think there's a time and it's okay to have obviously I think it's okay to have tattoos, but there's a time and a place where they're not appropriate and you should be able to cover them up. And some of those are some jobs or fancy events. Like you just have to cover them up. It's out of respect for this situation you find yourself in.
Yeah, I think you're right, Sheila. And like I said, unless you're working at a tattoo parlor, unless you're, say, a bouncer, you're with a motorcycle club, then I guess that's an environment where the more tattoos, the better. And I will say this, Sheila, your tattoos are beautiful. I remember seeing you getting tattooed in Israel back in 2018, I believe, and it was a beautiful tattoo. But what I see sometimes at the gym when people are just wearing their gym clothing, if you're going to get a tattoo, my theory is, and tell me if I'm wrong, save up some serious coin and get something by a true artist as opposed to a squibbly mark of blue ink that makes it look like your flesh has some kind of flesh-eating disease, right?
Yeah, again, I wouldn't say I have an expert opinion on this, but aim for something original, meaningful, and don't follow a trend. Because like the trend will be gone tomorrow and you're still stuck with the Japanese characters on you that you don't even know what they mean, right?
One last thing about tattoos, Sheila. My favorite joke about tattoos was the immortal, brilliant George Carlin, who said, wouldn't it be so cool, you're on the beach and you see a guy just lying down and he's got a tattoo on his back. And what that tattoo says is, please don't anyone tell this guy all the crap we've written on his back. He thinks it's a pirate ship.
Yikes. Anyway.
Okay,
for those of you, that's okay. We'll move on. Anyways, for those of you who think that my tattoos are ugly, I'm just slowly turning myself into a Byzantine church. I'm just decorating it with religious imagery. Let's tell everybody what we're doing super fast. We'll get into the news because it's very, very busy. So if you are watching us on Rumble, you can support our work over there by leaving us a Rumble rant. If your Rumble rant is over the $5 US cutoff, we're making it obligatory to read it on air. If it's under that, we'll do our best to get to it, time permitting. But the show is a real packed sausage today. If you're watching us on YouTube, same rules apply. It's called Super Chat over there. If you want to leave a chat afterwards, a paid comment, those are called Super Thanks. And the reason we are so grateful for you for sending us those is that we will never take a penny from the government to do the work that we do. So we rely on you at home, and we love to democratize the show. So that's it. That's how you get involved. This is our very live daily news and opinion show. And so let's get into the news. David, ex-pilot called himself Messiah. There's a lot going on in this headline. And I read this story 3 times because I'm like, this is checking a lot of left-wing boxes for me right now. Ex-pilot called himself Messiah on climate change mission a day before the alleged hijack at Vancouver's airport. Former commercial pilot Shahir Kasim posted on social media he was it's funny how they left this out of the headline. Messenger of Allah.
Oh yeah.
So, like, if you were just reading this out of the corner of your eyeball and you'd be like, he called himself a Messiah, I'm like, oh, okay, well, we've got one of those crazy fringe radical Christians. There's a few of those out there. I like to entertain myself by learning lots about cults, and there are certain Christian denominations that can just keep tending to spawn cults. And so I read that, and then I read more of the article. I'm like, oh, they mean he's a messenger of Allah. They conveniently left that out of the headline on a sent to save humanity from climate change. So he's now charged with hijacking, constituting terrorism over an incident on Tuesday that saw NORAD scramble F-15 fighter jets before the light plane landed safely. He took control of a plane at Victoria International Airport and threatened a flight instructor before flying to Vancouver. And you'll note by the lack of the C in front of those F-15s that we had to scramble, or not we, our American friends had to scramble their fighter jets to help us out on this one.
Unbelievable. You know, Sheila, first I want to address the messaging. You're 100% right. Him being a member of Team Allah, that, you know, and in a way I'm surprised it even got mentioned in the article, such as the way the mainstream media peddles such narratives.
Well, it wasn't in the headline or the sub, so.
Oh, and that's what I'm getting at. Had that been a Christian, you would have seen in the headline in 86-point type, far right-wing white Christian nationalists. Those are the buzzwords. That's what the media and those in government would like you to think is the biggest existential threat to our safety and harmony and well-being. But you're right, that whole Islamist part, well, you know what, we don't want to be insensitive, you know, to the religion of peace. So there's that. Secondly, I got to tell you, the headline lost me right from the get-go, Sheila. He is a messiah on climate change, but he's involving an aircraft. Aren't we always told by the climate change industry, whether it's Greta Thunberg or Al Gore or Blackface or Carney, that we shouldn't be using airplanes because of the carbon footprint? Oh, they use them. Don't get me wrong. They're really doing God's work. But if he believed in his own crapola, why is a messiah on climate change getting involved with an aircraft unless it's an EV aircraft? I don't think we have those, though, yet. Do we, Sheila?
I wouldn't. If we do, I don't want to get on one. This guy, I think you'd have a tough time making sense of anything that's going on in his head. If you read down, all of his friends are very surprised to find out that he did this. But then when CTV News mentioned some of the stuff that he was posting constantly on his Facebook page, you had to have had blinders on to not know that this guy was going to do something slightly crazy. Kasim's online posts include musings on religion, climate science, advocacy for tolerance and peace. There's your big red flag. But he also claimed the angel Gabriel appeared before him and gave him a message from Allah. And then and the very next line is, I'm really surprised he would have done something like this. Really? Really? And I'm sad to say he's one of ours. He attended high school in Lloydminster, Alberta, before studying aviation at NAIT. And then he describes himself as the editor of a blog devoted to the impact of climate change on the Arctic. Includes hundreds of posts since 2011, many of them highly technical, with the latest entry made on Saturday, which was entitled, "Will Humans Go Extinct Soon?"
Well, he'll be an agent of extinction for some humans if he gets his way. That's for sure. But you know what's alarming about that, Sheila, is that this, given his lifestyle, given his, here's a left-wing word, privilege, he's not destitute. He's not down in his luck. And yet he wants to carry out, allegedly, carnage. It reminds me, on Tuesday I was in Newmarket Court to see the sentence hearing, which is being put off for Wasidin Akbari. He's a guy originally from Afghanistan, then Pakistan, then Russia, and then came to Canada as a refugee in 2007. And he went into a BMW dealership and he told the salesman his dreams of, in his words, blowing up every Toronto synagogue and taking as many Jews with him. And yet you look at Mr. Akbari, he's got a $1 million plus home in East Gwillimbury. He had a successful restaurant. He drives a BMW. Last year he had enough disposable income to squander $500,000 at the casino. And Sheila, what I'm getting at is that this is somebody who is living the Canadian dream. He's privileged. He's well off. It looks like this fellow was well off. He wasn't destitute and hard done by. And still, this idea of carrying out jihad, you just can't get it out of them.
No, this is just something that gets in people's heads. It's like a disease, and it goes across all socioeconomic backgrounds. Who's the guy from Paramount who's always making excuses for Hamas? He could not be better off in this country. And yet he's constantly making excuses for anti-Semites running wild on the streets of Toronto.
Yeah, that would be Mohammed Fakir. And you're quite right. He's made some odious postings. I guess we have to be careful what we say about this individual, Sheila, because as much as I'm sure he would love to have Sharia law implemented in Canada, right now he's very happy with Canadian law, especially civil litigation against people that call him out.
Yeah, he's super litigious.
Yep.
But, his posts speak for themselves. And I think he's one of those people with the Order of Canada, if I recall correctly.
I'm not sure about that. If that is the case, it should be revoked 100%. And, I've reached out personally. I've gone to Paramount's head office to get his side of the story, because I can tell you, Sheila, I remember he went on News Talk 1010 after those odious anti-Semitic comments, and it was embarrassing. Like all compulsive liars, you lose track of the narrative and you contradict yourself. And, I won't quote verbatim what he said because I don't have it in front of me. But clearly, this is someone who really should take a vow of silence. And how about this? Yeah. Before you press send, this is good information for everybody. Reread what you're about to post and go, do you think this might be hateful? Do you think this might be inflammatory? Do you think this might be construed as a threat? That's very good advice, Sheila. Proofreading.
Mohammed Fakir was given the Order of Canada in 2022, and that's after a long history of donating to the Liberal Party. So you can just sort of donate your way into the Order of Canada at this point, and I suppose that's why Don Cherry doesn't have it.
Isn't that amazing? What a contrast. Fakir does and Cherry doesn't. But I guess Cherry never cut a check for the Liberal Party of Canada.
Yeah, let's go ahead to this next story. 2 men to serve prison time and then be deported for Surrey hit and run dragging death. This is quite something, because this is in contrast to the judge the other day who didn't award somebody prison time for trying to solicit an interaction with what he thought was a 15-year-old. That person was not given prison time so that he could continue his immigration process into the country. These guys are getting shown the door. which sort of makes me happy. But the problem is it was a death. So 2 men have been sentenced to 3 years in prison, handed 3-year driving ban for they deliberately dragged him. A man they struck with their vehicle for 1.3 kilometers, my goodness, before dumping his body in the street. They're 22. They were international students, and they'll be deported back to India after serving their sentences. Only 3 years, dangerous driving, failing to stop at an accident, and offering assistance, and then interfering with a dead body.
Yeah, Sheila, because when it comes to motor vehicles, for some reason, vehicular homicide, which I think is an American term, it doesn't seem to apply. The beginning and end of this story is simply 2 words: international students. You are visitors in our country. You are guests in our great dominion. You don't behave. You can't, wrap yourself in the Constitution or the Charter of Rights. You committed a heinous crime of which you've been found guilty, and I would be happy to drive their candy asses to the airport and say bon voyage in terms of forever as they go back to India. We do not need people like that in our country, and maybe it's a good idea too, Sheila, to just set a precedent, or an example, I should say, that if you are here as an international student, if you are here on a temporary work visa and you're misbehaving badly, whether it's killing someone with your automobile or going out onto the streets chanting genocide, which we've seen for almost the past 2 years, and I would argue many of those people are not Canadian citizens. Sorry, time to pack your bags and go.
Yeah, it reminds me of the truck driver who was involved in the Humboldt crash.
Yep.
He was a permanent resident, and I think he's still fighting it. His permanent resident status was revoked, and he was ordered deported, but he fought that right to the bitter end. Mm-hmm. So anyway, my point is, these guys should, 3 years is not enough. 3 years is not enough for what they did to this man. And they will obviously appeal their deportation. I bet you they'll apply for refugee status while they're in prison.
Yeah, and by the way, if they get that, Sheila, you're telling me Indians going back to India, you're at risk of, there's what's the population of India? 1.4 billion right now. Somehow this is a dangerous place for you. Is anyone on the refugee board going to buy that?
They will, and we'll get to how people game the system later on in the show, because apparently we're going to take refugees from the United States soon enough. Let's move ahead though, because this is a story directly related to your reporting. Man who allegedly sent death threats to Patrick Brown and his family has been arrested.
Yep.
Peel police have arrested a man who allegedly made a death threat against Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown and his family last month. Police said, oh my gosh, 29-year-old Kanwar Jyot Singh Manoria was taken into custody Tuesday and charged with uttering threats to cause death or bodily harm. It was based on a threat that was made via email to the mayor's office that also mentioned Brown's wife and son. Brown said the suspect allegedly used a server based in Sweden to mask his IP address. Brown said the subject allegedly claimed to be a professional overseas criminal who told him to leave his position in Brampton or he, his wife, and his son would be killed. I'm glad they caught this guy.
Oh, I am too, Sheila. But here's the question. How serious were these threats? I guess the investigation is still on. Was this somebody ranting after a drunken bender, or did he have actual tangible plans to go to Mayor Brown's house in Brampton and carry out this atrocity? And as much as we disagree with Patrick Brown, we never want harm to come to anyone. Brown is a father, Brown is a husband, he's a human being. But that's what I say. I also say this, it's the double standard, Sheila. If you or I, and we know this from battered women who go to the police, and say, I am terrified of my life. I am being beaten. My ex is hunting for me. The police are going to say, well, you know what? We'll give him a phone call. We'll give him a warning. You think you're going to get around-the-clock protection? And the final thing is, in Brampton, of all places, the GTA is having a record crime wave. I think it is the worst it's ever been in Brampton. You've got carjackings. You have people being shot at with handguns in broad daylight. And suddenly there's police resources available for Brown to have this around-the-clock protection. And like I said, if this was a valid threat, and we don't know it is, well, maybe he needs protection. Maybe he needs to go to a safe place, undisclosed. But it's the double standard, one law for me, one law for thee. And we saw that in Brampton with Brown going back to COVID when he locked down all the parks and rec facilities. Oh, but not the hockey rink at Earnscliffe Arena. Him and his Barrie buddies played hockey weekly there. The law and the COVID craziness clearly did not apply to sneaky Patrick Brown.
Yeah, just out of the corner of my eye as I watched the news from the greater GTA area, woman dead after stabbing in North York. Man in his 20s dead after shooting in Yorkdale Mall parking lot.
Yep.
Police raid home as hunt for 17-year-old Hamilton shooting suspect continues. Like, it's just page after page after page of bad news, bad crime news out of Toronto. And yeah, I think, yes, if Patrick Brown needed protection, this guy obviously went out of his way to mask his identity, meaning he had some sort of malice and forethought with what he was doing. It's not like he didn't know what was wrong. If he needed protection, yes, that's great. But if you're anybody else, the police say, we'll get a restraining order. Thanks. This piece of paper is going to keep the crazy person away. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and
that's my problem.
That very brief clip that we saw, here's some more of it. This is where we followed Patrick Brown, I think, what would it have been, 2023 maybe, Sheila, when he had the secret campaign headquarters, not in Brampton, but in Vaughan, staffed by City of Brampton employees. And he fled. That's always a good look, isn't it? And where did he flee to? 22 Division at Peel Regional Police in Brampton, where, lo and behold, by coincidence, they had just set up a spot check in the police parking lot. And here's the sergeant telling me how I came in a little hot there, and you went through a spot check. You know, lo and behold, a spot check for only two people, me and cameraman Lincoln J.
Yeah. Must be nice to be Patrick Brown, hey?
Oh, yeah.
Running his little own oligarchy there.
Oh, yeah. And don't forget, it was Patrick Brown who was instrumental in having the chief of the Peel Regional Police appointed. So I guess, what was it Carl Malden used to say on those American Express ads, Sheila? Membership has its privileges?
Yeah, sure does. But the rest of us, we have to deal with Carney's revolving door justice system, should I say legal system, because there's really no justice in it. We've got a video from Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre remarking that Liberal MP Ikra Khalid says laws cracking down on easy bail won't fix the violent crime crisis. She's one of the dumbest people to ever occupy a chair in the House of Commons. And that's saying something. I'm lumping Evan Solomon into that mix. So let's listen to this brainiac here.
And I know that a lot of the country is talking about bail reforms as the end-all fix-all, but ultimately laws and writing laws do not just fix a problem with the flip of a switch. And I know that a lot of the country...
Okay, so that's what she said. Do we have the Poilievre clip? Yeah, she's saying it won't fix anything. Well, it might help stop the guys who are committing crime while out on bail. Yeah, so this is the Poilievre response. He says, Liberal MP Ikra Khalid says laws cracking down on easy bail won't fix the violent crime crisis. Tell that to the victims of repeat offenders who were let loose on bail because Liberal laws made bail easier to get. Common sense, jail for repeat offenders to protect our people and deliver safe streets. Every day, it seems like we're hearing another story about somebody else who's out on bail, killing, harming, maiming another person every single day. And it is directly tied to the Liberals' bail reform stuff. And they made bail for, and sentences actually, for certain crimes. A lot of those crimes are gang related, easier to get. So they removed the mandatory minimum sentences on a bunch of violent crimes, also because of systemic racism. Well, then that puts those people systemically back into the low income and often racialized, use the language of the left, neighborhoods where they've been committing their crimes. It actually has the people who live in these lower income racialized communities victimized now by the bad guys, but also by the state who let the bad guys back out.
Oh, 100%. And Sheila, if it's black on black violence, brown on brown violence, however you want to frame it, how does race enter the question then? How is this a matter?
A crime is a crime.
Yeah. It's outrageous. Sheila, her logic is, well, it doesn't exist. I was going to call it perverse, but there is no logic. Think about it. If that gangbanger who offended again, attempted murder, outright murder while on bail, if he was not on bail, he would be behind bars. He physically would not be able to carry out another crime. So what the hell is she talking about?
I said she's one of the dumbest people in the House of Commons. If you ever watch her at committee, it's like your soul leaves your body just to protect your consciousness from contamination from listening to her. You're just dumber for having listened to her. There's no possible way that her statement makes any sense.
No.
It won't help to keep the bad guys in jail. Like if you weed out all the jargon, what she's saying is keeping the bad guys that we know are bad in jail won't make you safer. Then why have any jails? Why have any prisons?
And on the flip side, if we have a capacity problem, Sheila, as much as I want tax cuts, if you're going to raise my taxes to make new super jails for all the bad guys and all the trash out there that cannot be reformed, regardless whether they've been given so many chances, sign me up. I want to remove that element, period. So, and you're right. It might be just such a lack of intelligence. I can tell you, Sheila, doing this, shtick journalism for almost 40 years now, the one thing that I've learned is never underestimate how stupid elected officials are. And that's at every level, from school board trustee to a federal minister. It's really unfortunate, and I don't know how to fix it.
I think it's just, your ability to, in some of these places, move an ethnic bloc to win a nomination, and from there your path to victory is complete.
I agree.
All right, we've got Mark Carney being asked about much the same thing, not giving an any better response. He's asked about Liberal bail reform, and he says he's got commitments on that, whatever that means.
Hi, my name is Simone Gavros. I'm with CHCH News. My question is more of a local question about crime. Within the last few months, 2 random innocent bystanders were killed in 2 separate shootings. And in the latest shooting on Friday, that suspect is a 17-year-old who police are still looking for. There's also a lot of concern when it comes to repeat offenders. My question to you today is, what is your government doing to keep communities, including Hamilton, safe when it comes to gun violence?
Thank you very much for the question. And my sincere condolences for the victims of the direct victims of these crimes, their families, but also for the communities and the concern and anxiety that horrible crimes like this create. One of the things the federal government is doing, and we are making a huge emphasis on this, is to control our border better. Because I suspect, and we'll see when this individual is caught, that gun came from the United States. Vast majority of firearms, illegal firearms, firearms used in crime, come across our border. And so what we've been doing in recent months is making very large investments in controlling those borders much better. We have to do more, but we're talking thousands more CBSA, Border Service Agents. We're talking drone surveillance, helicopter surveillance, working more closely with the United States on both sides of the border, both elements of the border, including addressing the scourge of fentanyl. The second aspect to your question, which your question touches on and the tragic situations touch on, is bail reform. And the importance of bail reform, particularly with respect to repeat offenders. We have commitments on that. We're working with the provinces on those issues. I'll be meeting with the premiers next week. I'm sure that's one of the elements that we will discuss, and you can expect legislation from this government in the fall.
Okay, did you notice something there that I did that I find absolutely infuriating? Yeah. He's finally acknowledging what the gun lobby has been saying for decades.
Yep.
We are not the problem. All these guns are coming across from the United States, and you are the problem, Liberals, because you won't secure the border. He actually admitted it there, but do you think he's going to roll back the gun grab? Definitely not. He's going to take that, what he underestimates, at $1/3 billion and continue to focus on law-abiding gun owners when he is openly admitting all the crime guns are illegally trafficked into the country, instead of spending $1/3 billion on, I don't know, securing the border. Maybe build, you know what, build Grand Prairie, Gitmo, put all the bad guys in it. I don't care, but quit wasting money on people he just acknowledged are not the problem.
You know, Sheila, I thought I saw you gasp when he said that. I was kind of gasping myself. I wonder if Carney has buyer's remorse, basically stating the truth, right? That it's not Saskatchewan duck hunters that are responsible for crime in the urban jungle. The other thing, let's make mention, the reporter referred to the gunman as being 17. So I have... we need reform for bail. Let's see the Carney Liberals get cracking on that. We've been saying that for a long time. I'll believe it when I see it. But how about reforming the Criminal Youth Justice Act, which replaced the Equally Offensive Young Offenders Act? I believe, Sheila, in second chances. If some kid got caught stealing a candy bar, went for a joyride, look, I'm not saying lock him up for a long time or forever. But when you are a teenager, I would even argue once you are like in elementary school, you have a profound realization of right and wrong. You know that carrying out murder is verboten. This idea that we cannot name these people, that we don't have any record, a public record, of where they are afterwards. This act has to be reformed, and the reform is simply this. These serious crimes, like murder, attempted murder, rape, you name it. I'm sorry, if you are a teenager, you know the difference between right and wrong, and you do not deserve the opportunity to have your identity hidden. It's a matter of public safety.
Yeah, I mean... So much of the criminal justice system makes very little sense. The sentencing does, how we treat mature minors. Like the problem I have is that the Liberals want to have it all different kinds of ways. They want mature minors who can decide to cut off their wieners at 11, but also be not criminally responsible for a murder at age 17 plus 9 months. You know what I mean? They, Nate Erskine Smith is behind a petition to give high schoolers the vote. So 16-year-olds can decide the fate of our country. At 16, you can sign up to join the military. My problem is the inconsistency of it all. Yeah. You can't say we want 16-year-olds to vote. They are able to join the military, but also someone who's age 17 and a half who violently, premeditatedly murders somebody gets treated like a youth in the criminal justice system. If there are these gray areas for mature minors, okay, then it has to be everywhere.
You know, it's amazing. We got to get a consensus, Sheila, on what age makes you an adult. Because if Erskine Smith is saying 16-year-olds still in high school, they're intelligent and mature enough to vote, well, then surely they can buy fireworks and alcohol and lottery tickets and tobacco. But no, no, and many other things.
Right.
So
tattoos.
Does
tattoos.
that exactly? Does that make sense to you?
No, that's the problem. My problem is the inconsistency of all of this. The Liberals want to have it all sorts of ways. I think minors are minors unless they've exhibited some very adult thinking in their criminality. And I know in like some U.S. states, you know, if you can prove that your 16 or 17-year-old criminal acted in such a premeditated and sinister way, that they can be treated as an adult in the justice system. I think there are extraordinary circumstances for all those sorts of things, but the Liberals just think a kid is a kid when it comes to criminality, but a kid is a grown-up in all other things starting at about age 9.
Well, Sheila, I guess the silver lining, because once again, he's in the news thanks to Prime Minister Carney. At least we have a dedicated public safety minister.
You know what? At least, you know, rest easy, Canadians, tonight on your pillows, because Gary Nandasangari is on the job. So, for those of you who don't know, Gary Nandasangari has been my latest political muse. Back in 2014. When he won the nomination in his riding because he raised a bunch of money from the Tamil community, the Sri Lankan government was like, hey, don't. Like, this is not good. Because I think he was a lawyer previously for Tamil terrorists, and that's fine. Everybody deserves a lawyer. But that also doesn't mean that you get to be an MP because you have you know, like, that's fine. If you want to be a lawyer for terrorists, great. Like I said, everybody deserves a lawyer, but then it doesn't make you the right guy to be an MP. And those are just the personal decisions you have to make. But Justin Trudeau saw the amount of money that he raised from the Tamil community and said, we got to have this guy. We've got to keep this guy. And now it comes out that, so anyways, he, for some reason, and again, this is Mark Carney rubbing it in our face. Now Gary Nandasangari is an MP. But he doesn't have to be the public safety minister.
Exactly.
There's a bunch of other people you could put as a public safety minister. What's, you know, like, you don't need the guy with the ties to one of the largest South Asian terror groups ever to have existed. One of the most violent, by the way. Bombings, kidnappings, assassinations. He was their lawyer. So he doesn't have to be our public safety minister, but Mark Carney rubbing it in our faces makes Gary Nandasangari, of all people, the public safety minister. So then Gary says, don't worry, everything's fine. I'm going to recuse myself from these terrorism files related to the Tamil Tigers. If you have to recuse yourself from terrorism files, you shouldn't be the minister in charge of combating terrorism.
Bingo.
By the way, who is in charge of these files now? I don't know. Nobody's saying. And now it comes out that Gary Nandasangari personally intervened twice on immigration files related to people with ties to the Tamil Tigers. And yet, Carney, nothing but faith in his man.
Yep.
Let's watch the clip.
Prime Minister, Global News an investigation has unveiled that the public safety minister wrote letters before he was the public safety minister on behalf of a man and his immigration status to come to Canada, even though this man was a member of a listed suspected terrorist group. The public safety minister is in charge of border security, obviously very important to any trade deal going forward. What confidence do you have in the public safety minister with your reaction to this, sir?
Thank you for the question. Look, the public safety minister has been transparent about the details of that situation, and he has my confidence. Thank you.
Unbelievable. And you know what, Sheila, what you said earlier, it all comes down to money, doesn't it? Going back to sneaky Patrick Brown, in my report, and I got my information from my source, my Brampton source, who is 100% accurate over these last 4 years. There are, in Brampton, going back a few months ago in May, Patrick Brown unveiled a monument to the Tamil genocide, the result of the Sri Lankan war. First of all, there's a lot of controversy about that. The Sinhalese population will say there wasn't a genocide. There were casualties on both sides. You mentioned the Tamil Tigers. They are a terrorist group. But why is Mayor Brown getting involved in events and affairs that are halfway across the world? Well, there's 12,000 Tamils in the city of Brampton. That's not a huge number, especially compared to, say, the Punjabi or the Hindu population. But many of those Tamils are very, very well heeled. So money talks and BS walks. Patrick Brown's chief of staff, Babu, where is Babu? Whenever we go to interview him, he hides behind a desk. The police chief for Peel Regional Service, as I mentioned earlier, a Brown appointee, he's Tamil. So what's driving this is money. I mean, why doesn't Patrick Brown, I don't know, erect a monument for the Armenian genocide of more than a century ago? Well, I would argue maybe not a lot of well-heeled Armenians in Brampton. That's probably why.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly why the Sri Lankan Foreign Ministry issued a statement in 2014 saying that Canadians should be worried about Gary Nandasangari, who won his nomination because he was able to fundraise from the deep pockets of the Tamil community.
Yep.
They were warning us. Like, it's not nothing to have a foreign ministry of another country issue a statement concerning your future MP's ties to the terrorism community. But money talks, as you say. Money talks.
And I can tell you, Sheila, this unveiling of the Tamil monument in Brampton. Isn't it funny? We're tearing down statues of Sir John A. Macdonald, the founder of Canada, but certain rats like Brown are, getting involved in ethnic situations, which I will argue is going to cause a lot of ethnic strife, especially in Brampton. You just wait to see what's going to happen in that city in the years to come. But
before we move on, I have a petition.
Yes.
If people want to sign it, they can. It's real easy. Go to firegary.com. I cannot believe that he is the public safety minister and Carney isn't getting rid of him. There's got to be a lot of Tamil money there to think that you could weather this controversy. It would be like the Americans having their Homeland Security person with ties to Al Qaeda. That's literally. Right,
but
the Secretary of Homeland Security, who has ties to, Osama bin Laden's people. This is what we're dealing with in Canada. This is crazy.
And if that situation were the case, Sheila, the president saying, "Oh, that's okay, we'll just take him off the 9/11 file."
Right. He just won't. They won't have to do anything about the Middle East. No Middle East stuff. It's okay.
Yeah. That's a quiet, safe neighborhood. Nothing much happening there. Sheila, we've gone very long. Time's been flying. I think we need an ad break, don't we?
Yeah, we do need an ad break. But before we do, let's talk about the Rebel News birthday party.
Yes.
It's, if you want tickets, it's at happybirthdayrebel.com. It's September 18th, 16th? Remind me, I'm not good with dates. It's in Calgary. It is, maybe we'll bring that up. That would be great.
Yes.
Or be sleeping in the control room. Anyways, Rebel News is celebrating our 10th birthday, and we want to celebrate it with you because without you, there's no Rebel News. Our actual 10th birthday on paper was back in February, but the world was kind of busy, but particularly Canada back then, because we were in the middle of the Liberals shuffling the decks. Chairs on the Titanic, and then it was after that we were headed into the election, so there was too much news to just stop and celebrate. I don't want to say celebrate ourselves, but celebrate everything that you have helped us accomplish together. So it's the 18th. Let me remember that. So yes. Thursday, September 18th at 6 p.m. Carriage House Hotel and Conference Center in Calgary. Live music, cocktails, snacks, meet and greet, photos, and as the website copy says there, it's not just a party, it's a celebration of everything we've built together. And that is truly true. People have predicted our deaths many times, many times. And usually those people are laid off in the mainstream media about 6 weeks later. But not us. So if you want to celebrate with us, please go to happybirthdayrebel.com. And I promise I'll show up on the right date.
Yeah, you know, Sheila, call me a crank, but if you're going to promote an event, you got to get the date out there. But you know what? Here, Sheila, some speculation for you. Not quite sci-fi alternative universe query, but how about our 20th anniversary? What is Canada going to look like in the year 2035? What will Rebel News look like? Will we still be here? Touch wood.
Yeah, exactly. In my fantasy football, geopolitical politics world, Canada won't be my problem.
That's very cryptic. Do you have an exit package ready?
Me or my province?
Oh, I get it now. Okay.
Yeah.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I see what you're saying.
Bureau. I might just be a foreign bureau chief of Rebel News. We'll see. Make it the Australians. Let's hit an ad break, come back, and we will talk about the nonsense in Poilievre's Battle River Crowfoot riding.
Yeah.
They're doing it again.
Yep.
Alberta powers Canada, but Ottawa keeps limiting our potential. The Alberta Next panel wants your ideas to strengthen our sovereignty within a united Canada. Help decide what's next for Alberta. Visit alberta.ca/next.
Gun bans make great distractions.
Trudeau may be gone, but Carney has picked up his same rhetoric.
We will quickly, and I mean quickly, reinvigorate the buyback of assault-style firearms.
Hunters, collectors, competitors, and defenders of tradition are still being targeted. While criminals run wild under Liberal policy. But we are fighting back. By delaying and dismantling unjust legislation, by confronting policy at its source, like on the global stage at the United Nations, through our unmatched record of political lobbying and our Save Firearms program, actively saving firearms from government crushers in real time. And we're not done yet. Join us. Canada's National Firearms Association, in defense of freedom.
Canadians know the national anthem. They stand in silence to remember those who died for this country. But not every Canadian knows their rights and freedoms. The Freedom Passport will change that. It looks and feels like a Canadian passport, but contains the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms in a portable, easy-to-read format. The Freedom Passport. Order one for yourself and for all the freedom lovers that you love at freedompassport.ca.
Alrighty. Go ahead, David.
Yes. Well, you teased it before. Poilievre running in Battle River Crowfoot. There's already approximately 50 candidates. This is part of that kooky leftist organization that's really trying to, I don't know, confuse the electorate, get incumbents they don't like, or candidates they don't like elected. And Sheila, it's an outrage, and I have the way to fix this. We have to increase the number of signatures a candidate gets.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, 1,000, 2,000, you name it. We also have to increase the entry, not a couple of $100. How about 10,000? How about 20,000? And by the way, I'm willing to say this: if you meet those benchmarks and you get, say, 8% of the voters supporting you, you get a refund of your money. And I know, these loony leftists, and by the way, if this was some right-wing organization doing this, Sheila, I would have the same contempt. They're going to say, oh, you're just trying to make the election all about rich people. No, I'm not. If you are running for federal office and you can't get 2,000 signatures and you can't raise $20,000, I question your legitimacy. I question how committed you are to being an elected member of parliament. I'm not talking, $2 million. I'm talking $20,000. Then this nonsense, all these shenanigans go away. We need this to be reformed, and I think I've given the solution, Sheila.
Let's just show who the real villain is in all of this. Can we bring up that Elections Canada page and just show just how organized this is? Okay, just stop. So Grant Abraham, we know Grant. He is an independent conservative type. He's got his official agent is Rita Moore. Look at everybody else. Dylan Anderson, Fraser Anderson, Martin Borch, Eva Bowering. Who's this? Thomas Suchuzich, I think is how you say that. It's all the same guy. Pages and pages and pages. I am sort of, I would be surprised if all of these people knew that their names were on the ballot. Honestly.
Yeah.
Like most of them don't even have a website. They've just put their names forward. They're paper candidates. They're not going to run any campaign. And this is electoral interference of the highest order. And yeah, there's Polyev. Bonnie Critchley was one of the others that was like a legitimate independent candidate. But all of these people, they're not running under a banner. This is all part of their this scheme by this Thomas guy. There's Jeff Willerton. He's from the Christian Heritage Party. He's a legitimate candidate. But I have my doubts that all of these people are even aware that their names are on the ballot. So is it the same, 1,000 people signing over and over again? There has to be some auditing. This is complete gaming the system. It's a waste of everybody's time. It's a waste of resources, and it makes a mockery of our elections. Somebody has to do something about this.
Sheila, thank goodness for Little Mercies. I was looking at that list. I was very, animated when it came to those candidates with the surname beginning with P. At least we don't see some real dirty trick happening. And it's happened before in elections, folks, where you get a candidate whose name is incredibly similar to the candidate you're targeting, with the hopes that people won't be reading the ballot correctly and vote for that person. At least that's not the case here. But you're right. This is not sincere. This is not legitimate. This is gaming the system. And I say raise the benchmark for entry to thousands, not hundreds of signatures, and several $1,000. And then you'll see all those jokers evaporate, Sheila.
Yeah, it's real easy. And, I misspoke. I thought it was 1,000. It's actually only 100.
Yeah.
100 names. And so when you're stacking 50 of them, it's just you and the person standing beside you, and you just keep going through that with, you could get all these 50 fake candidates in a room. They bring their buddy, and that's it. Everybody's nominated.
And Sheila, I've even heard with the 100 name benchmark, how do we know for sure that's not the same 12 or 13 people putting multiple signatures? I mean, are those things actually given scrutiny? I don't think so. So even when you say 100, it might be even fewer than 100 endorsing the the candidate.
Yeah, it's crazy. And we're not even going to get, I don't think this is finalized. They have until day 21 of the campaign to get all their finalized candidates in. It's just, I don't know. It's a mess. Somebody should do something about it, but the Liberals are in charge, and this benefits them, so it definitely won't.
Well, Sheila, I don't have confidence in Elections Canada,
No, neither do I.
I mean, how many times again, we're going back to sneaky Patrick Brown, how many times have we caught him carrying out shenanigans that, in my point of view, should have him behind bars. There's a safe haven for the sneaky one in case he's worried about somebody taking his life. Elections Canada has one job to do, which is on election night, make sure their website is up and running so we can see who's winning. And you saw how it crashed on April 28th. So I don't know if it's a matter of incompetence, if it's a matter of these bureaucrats are simply lazy. You know, you can't be fired, it seems, when you're in the federal bureaucracy. But this is a body that has to be reformed too, Sheila.
Yeah. I mean, there's that. I have a piece coming out and I have to adjust it because Elections Canada has finally issued a statement. But from 2 days ago, 121,000 ballots went uncounted by Elections Canada by their own data. Yeah. And that is in the middle of all these elections where they lost, like locally, where they lost 822 ballots in a BC riding that were they were absentee ballots. So they were supposed to be attributed to places across the country, but collected in a BC riding. And then they had that one vote loss that swung the riding to the Liberals in a Quebec riding, where now Elections Canada is admitting that there were problems there. So, I mean, there's a real problem at Elections Canada. Nobody seems to really take it all that seriously at Elections Canada. And with, you know, ridings being won and lost on a hair's breadth, I feel like they should take their job a little bit more seriously, but they're just like, trust us. And if you bring up the problems that their own records say they're having, like Elections Canada issues these statements, that's where that's where I get the news from, where I'm like, oh my gosh, they lost 822 ballots. I got that from Elections Canada press releases. Yeah. If you bring it up and you say, you know what, we've got problems with election integrity in this country, everybody, including conservatives, are telling you to shut up.
120,000 is the number, Sheila. And to your point, look at the number of horse race ridings, photo finishes. Yeah. And this is no big deal. That's outrageous. This is garbage. And here's my question to you, since you've delved into this. What are they going to do about this 120,000 uncounted ballots? Is it, oh, well, we'll do better next time? Or are they going to reevaluate the ridings that these ballots are from?
They're going to investigate themselves and find nothing wrong. You know, like really, they said, oh, we didn't attribute these 822 ballots, these absentee ballots, from a riding in BC, but don't worry, they didn't affect the outcome.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, what? And then they're issuing these fines for people who are voting twice, as was the case in Richmond Hill. And that guy's getting, for voting twice, and he knew it was illegal to vote twice, $1,000 fine.
Oh.
Okay. Not a deterrent, but you know what? When your Elections Canada workers are mishandling 822 ballots, you've just told me the cost of a mishandled ballot. It's $1,000. Where's the fine against that elections worker?
Yeah, that'll teach him a harsh lesson. You know, but to the bigger point of these 120,000 ballots, and I think you're right, Sheila, Elections Canada will investigate itself, say nothing was wrong, nothing different would have been the outcome. This is Banana Republic garbage, if you ask me. And we are supposed to have faith in this institution to make sure a fair game is being called. I don't know. I'm questioning it now, Sheila.
Yeah, me too. Elections Canada issued a statement because that story went viral. And they said, we see comments about special ballots that were not counted in the last election. The law is clear, although they don't say this is why they don't get who didn't return them. And we already know Elections Canada workers didn't return at least 822. The law is clear. Ballots that are returned after the election day can't be counted. We communicate these deadlines to inform electors. We also can't count ballots that are never returned. Okay, but they don't say those 122,000 were not returned. They just say they weren't counted.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Says, oh, go ahead, Sheila. Sorry.
No. It says the officer has made recommendations to try to reduce the number of special ballots that are returned late or never returned. They don't say who's responsible for not returning them. And we know in some instances it is Elections Canada.
That was going to be my point. If you were to blame for this fiasco, how can you have the audacity to say, oh, no harm, no foul, we'll try better next time? No, that's garbage.
Yeah. So they actually didn't say that those 122,000 were returned late by the people they were sent to. They just say these are the reasons ballots can't be counted. And we know that in that BC riding, it was an Elections Canada worker.
Unbelievable. There should be a royal inquiry, I think, Sheila, because if you don't have integrity as being the mission statement of a federal election, then you've got nothing.
Yep. I alluded to this. I know we're running out of time, but I alluded to this because you said we were talking about, who should be deported. Judge halts deportation of non-binary. This is from the Globe and Mail. This is somebody who's in Canada illegally. Judge halts deportation of non-binary American in ruling after Trump's gender edicts. So apparently it's unsafe to be an American in the freest country in the world, where they give you pride parades everywhere and they force DEI on you in all the major companies. Apparently you cannot be deported back to the land of the free and the home of the brave if you declare yourself a sexual minority. Angel Jenkel is engaged to a Canadian and set to be deported back to the United States before the federal court justice is ruling. This is not like you are a gay gazin and you are coming to Canada because you don't want to be dragged behind a motorcycle in the streets, which is actually what happened to a Hamas commander once they found him in Tel Aviv, because he fled to Tel Aviv. And I'm not making this story up. I don't even know if he was gay. He was just accused of being gay. And so he fled to Tel Aviv because it's safe to be gay in Tel Aviv. They have a pride parade there. But Hamas went and found him there, took him back, and then killed him. This is Angel Jenkel, a 24-year-old multimedia artist. Okay, that's not a real job. From Minnesota, who's engaged to a Canadian, can now remain in Canada while their case is judicially reviewed in a judgment that their lawyers hailed as precedent-setting. Because it's dangerous to be an LGBTQ plus American since Donald Trump took office. This is ridiculous. Get out. Yeah. And take your fake job with you.
What are the odds, Sheila, that a non-binary multimedia artist hails from Tampon Tim State?
Yeah.
And by the way,
exactly. You're going back to Minnesota, a Democrat state.
No.
You're fine.
I mean, even in the 1984 election, when Reagan won 49 out of 50 states, Minnesota was the one holdout.
You're not you're going to Minnesota.
Yeah. You're
not going to Ramallah.
Yeah.
I would hear the argument if you were going to be deported to Ramallah. I would. But this is nonsense.
And
Go, you're in a Democrat state. You're fine.
And by the way, Sheila, I hate to be a nitpicker, but if you say you are non-binary, whatever that is, well, the fact that you identify as non-binary, that means you're part of a binary, right?
Oh, God. You know what?
It's so confusing.
Don't even bother to try to make sense of it.
Well, I'm sure her parents are so proud of him, her.
This is crazy. This is just making a mockery of not just Canada, but also the Americans. You're not in danger because you don't get to play sports against biological women. That's not, don't compare yourself to a real refugee fleeing war and persecution because you can't go punch a woman in the face in a boxing ring.
Yeah.
Get real.
Yeah. Well, Sheila, as I've said before, this isn't on us, men. This is females.
I know.
These are typically, I'm stereotyping here, but white liberal females that are all in on having female safe spaces, whether it's sports or shelters or prisons or locker rooms or showers invaded by gender-bending male grifters. Ain't on me. It's on you women who are watching this live stream. Well, maybe not you personally,
Not
but
us.
your demographic is what's driving this. I don't get it. It's like being part of Chickens for Colonel Saunders.
You know what? It's the white liberal cat moms. And I say this as someone who is at least a cat godmother at this point to my cat. but it is. It's the women who they're either self-sterilized through cross-sex hormones or because of climate change. They just think kids are a plague upon the earth. But their daughters don't have to live with the consequences of their bad ideas. Yep. My daughters do. And it's the left has weaponized the empathy of women against them in the most misogynistic of ways.
Yeah. No, I couldn't have said it better, Sheila, and that's what I observe. And certainly if our viewers go onto our channel, you can see our latest Transanity on the rugby field. Chloe Jorg is with the Scarborough Aces, and the game we went to see, that's Efren and I on Saturday, he was injuring real female players.
In that I would have, Chloe Jorg is unstoppable. Yeah, sure is.
Yeah.
Now, I wish you had pointed out in that video that this garbage is illegal in Alberta.
Yeah, well, it's illegal everywhere, ostensibly, right. Sheila, according to World Rugby rules, the international...
Yeah, but it doesn't matter the sport, is what I'm saying. Whether it's baseball, contact sports like rugby, ringette, soccer, basketball, it's illegal in Alberta just for biological good sense and sportsmanship.
And public safety. And I mean, when you saw in that clip, Jorg going through all those females breaking, 3 or 4 tackles all the way into the end zone. You know, and here's what we saw on Saturday. You know, just look, it's a runaway freight train. Why? Because that's a dude. And by the way, if you look at the physique of Chloe Jorg, this dude makes Ash Davis of Fergus look like Skinny Minnie, okay? Look at this.
Oh, look at it fending with his elbow like
You're not allowed to do that, correct, Sheila, in rugby?
No, you can fend. It's fine, but it's just
but you can't use your hand.
No, you can fend with your hand. I'll send you some player, but like he could easily fend with his hand and use momentum, but he's fending with his elbow, which is, I think, not exactly sportsmanlike. It's designed to harm. When you're fending with your elbow, you can use momentum and fend with your hand.
But what I'm getting at, you're not allowed to punch, right?
No, of course you're not allowed.
Okay, well, look at some of that footage because maybe I'm seeing it differently.
You fend with an open palm. You can also fend and like grab someone's jersey and like throw them. So, there's some. Anyways, that was just like an unnecessary elbow fend. It's within the rules, but it's also not exactly sportsmanlike. But neither is playing against girls when you have a wiener. So.
Nobody on the field that day, including the opposition team, the Toronto Nomads, which were smoked and had injured players thanks to little dainty Chloe. Nobody had a problem with it. And, you know, part of the problem, I think, Sheila, I think I'll have a follow-up video about this. It's the indoctrination. It's how they think this is perfectly reasonable. And there was a telltale sign on the uniforms of the opposing team, the Toronto Nomads. They all had the Pride Progress flag as a permanent patch on the sleeves of their uniforms. So what's that telling you? I think what it's telling us, Sheila, is that this sport has been colonized by the Rainbow Mafia. And
in Ontario.
In Ontario. Okay.
And you know what? I don't think that it's necessarily the case everywhere. And look, rugby, you cannot be homophobic and play rugby, especially women, like women's rugby. You can't be homophobic and play it. So they can just put those allegations aside when they say like, oh, you're being homophobic. No, look, the majority of the major female players on the face of the earth are lesbian. That's just, I think maybe that's just the kind of sport it calls to aggressive women. But there's something that there's no excuse for a biological man to be playing a contact sport against women, and especially like no contact sport ever, but rugby, your only equipment is your mouth guard. That's it.
And Sheila, this is what makes this grotesque. As you said, it should be all sports. I mean, cycling isn't contact sport. You're still at a disadvantage as a female cyclist going up against a male cyclist. But if you had to pick the one sport on the face of the planet, with the exception of boxing, and we know the IOC is all in when it comes to transanity that way, it would be the game of rugby. That is pure physical contact with no protection. And we saw, I welcome our viewers to look at the footage. Look at number 6 on the Toronto Nomads, had to be helped off the field. But the coach, who wouldn't let me talk to his players, he's fine with it. And he called me a bigot for raising the issue. Do you get that, Sheila?
No, this man is completely ideologically captured.
Yep.
And whatever he feels about the rainbow community, a coach should care about sportsmanship.
Yep.
And he cares about none of that. And the safety of his players. He doesn't care about that. He would rather sacrifice the safety of his players and sportsmanship on the altar of diversity.
Yep. And Sheila, when it comes to inclusion, I have a way to fix this overnight. Well, it's not an original idea. Coach Linda Blade talks about this in her book on this invasion of female sports. We have a transgender division. We have male, female, trans. And, so if you're a man who thinks he's a woman, or a woman who thinks she's a cat, you name it, you join up. And you know what, Sheila? I think I'd tune into that. Now that, Barnum and Bailey and Ringling Brothers Circus is no longer around, this could be a real freak show that would garner my eyeballs to watch it. So there you go. I'm not about excluding anyone, even people in the radical transgender community. Just don't mix men with women in sports, unless, of course, it's equestrian or auto racing. It's been thus ever since the inception of sports that the sexes are divided, with very few exceptions, and certainly contact sports, something so physical as rugby, that was never meant for men to play with women, and the world governing body, World Rugby, even says so too. There you go.
Yep. I think it was swimming. They tried a co-ed division, like international swimming, and like nobody signed up. so then
it
is
bad.
About cheating, by the way. Yeah, but that's the thing.
Too bad.
It's
So
cheating.
sad.
Not,
Because I know.
They say it's about participation in the sport. Well, if it was, then you would sign up for the co-ed division. But it's about cheating, which is why none of you signed up.
And also, it's about the psychosis of these people, the Ash Davises of the world, the Chloe Yorgs of the world. They will say, well, what do you mean? I'm a trans woman, and a trans woman is a real woman. And I'm going, no, honey, you're not. You still have your male wedding tackle.
You know what? Even if you don't, live your life however you want. You just can't play against my kid in sports. You just can't.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't want to care. So quit making me care, please. Other side of this debate.
So Sheila, we see blowback against this in the UK. We see blowback in the US. Remember in February, Donald Trump signing executive orders to reinstate Title IX, protecting female sports. I don't see any indications in Canada of any blowback here. Am I wrong, or do you have some hope for the future?
I don't think it's going to be my problem all that soon, because Alberta is sane when it comes to this stuff. And it's a highly popular policy here in Alberta. There's little to no pushback from the sports organizations who previously you would think had been ideologically captured. They're not pushing back on this. So I guess it's up to the other provinces to, because these sports are governed provincially, to do the right thing. And it is alleged to me that Doug Ford is a conservative. I have yet to see it. He could just as easily do the hard thing that our female premier in Alberta did, but he's just not gonna.
No, and in the Department of Plenty of Blame to go around, the Ontario Minister of Sport is Neil Lumsden, a former CFL player, MVP, Grey Cup winner. If anyone knows the dangers of a physical sport, let's face it, football is a form of rugby, it would be Lumsden. What did he do the other year? He gave additional funding to Rugby Ontario. He topped up their funding for doing the wrong thing, so he is all in terms of wokeness. I bet you, Sheila, he doesn't believe this, but he's going along to get along, and the fact that this is a so-called conservative government, what a joke. Shame on Ford, shame on Lumsden. Now, it's 15:15, Sheila, and lest anyone think the rugby video was our cringe video of the day.
No, it's worse.
It was
it's
cringeworthy, but we have another one. So why don't we run it? It's former President Barack Obama. Check this out,
Is it Barack
folks.
Obama or is it his wife? No, it's his wife. No, it's him. I don't know. These two are just... Okay, let's just watch it. I'll learn about it with everybody else. I haven't seen this yet, but apparently men need gay friends. Did you know that, David?
I'll get on it.
I had a gay professor in college at a time when openly gay folks still weren't outlawed, who became one of my favorite professors. You need that. To show empathy and kindness. And by the way, you need that person in your friend group so that if you then have a boy who's gay or non-binary or what have you, they have somebody that they can go, okay, I'm not alone in this. Yeah. Right?
Sheila, are the Democrats ever going to get away from identity politics?
I don't understand the point of that entire conversation.
No.
Are you like, oh, when you're interviewing your new friends, potential new friends into the friend circle, are you also DEI-ing the members? Because that sounds like what they're doing. Like, do they understand how to have and create and then maintain organic friendships with people who have common interests that you like? Because I don't think they have that. Like, they treat their friendships like interviewing people to join the board of your business and you need to check some DEI boxes.
You know,
it's weird.
In other words, Sheila, I hearken back to more than half a century ago, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that famous speech he made, judge not someone on the color of their skin, but the content of their character. I would say judge not someone on their sexual orientation, but the content of their character. But no, Barack Obama says we need to go out and get gay friends so we can check off all those identity politics boxes that makes us more, I don't know, diverse and inclusive. No, not buying it.
Like, if you end up with a gay friend, you end up with a gay friend. But
exactly.
You shouldn't be like, who's in my friend group that's gay? Oh, we don't have any gays. Let's go get a gay and put it in the friend group. Like, this is the dumbest thing ever. This is not the board of a Fortune 500 company that's got DEI targets. This is your friend group.
Yeah.
And imagine thinking that you need to interview your friends for their sexual preferences before you decide if you like them. It's like they don't have any real friends, you know? Yeah. Like, have they ever had a real adult friendship? I don't think they have. It's very strange.
Strange and sad, and a statement of our time. By the way, Sheila, before we wrap up, any super chats come in?
I'm just checking right now. We have one. It says, from Cecily Bardwell, $5. God bless the West. Alberta, Saskatchewan, the best provinces in Canada. Well, you're not going to get any argument from me on that.
And as an Easterner, you're not going to get any argument from me either.
Yeah.
I call them as I see them.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Well, Sheila, thank you so much for helping me out with the show today. And thank you to everybody who viewed, and our one donor that gave some money. Every cent helps. So thank you so much for that. I believe I am back tomorrow with the sensational Sheila Gunn Reid and two other people. We're going to try something new, a panel discussion, Sheila? Some sort of new form of the live stream. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're working on it. We don't have anything written in stone for tomorrow, so I don't have anything quite yet to announce. But for those of you who tuned in yesterday, and you saw the inaugural launch of our sort of Wednesday Buffalo panel about Western issues, we're going to try a similar panel, but nationally, on Friday. So I don't have any more details than that to tell you. But if you want to see something new, hopefully tune in tomorrow. And as I said yesterday, I basically am learning to fly this plane after we've left the tarmac. So we'll just figure it out together. And that's it.
Well, I have every confidence in you, Sheila. So once again, folks, thank you so much. Please tune in for our new panel discussion tomorrow. And in the meantime, stay safe and stay sane.
Now, in that discussion, we will, of course, discuss, as some of you did yesterday, the One Canadian Economy Act, and particularly the Building Canada Act, what it means, how we bring it to life in the right way. And I think that's the first point I really want to emphasize, is that this act is only a way of starting a conversation and starting a process. And we define that process going forward. But what it could do is enable Canada to build big things that will connect and transform our national economy.